What's up, everyone? Welcome to today's daily market recap. We're going to go over my trades from today, and we're going to look at the condition of the overall market. I'm sitting right now just above my daily goal. Third day in a row of being either just above or just below the daily goal, which on the one hand is great, except for the fact that over the last 30 days, I've been routinely being 4 to 5 times above my daily goal. So these last 3 days, even though I've been hitting the daily goal, have felt dreadfully slow. Let's jump onto the screen share and I'll start breaking down the last stock that I traded, which was DATS. So DATS had a squeeze a couple days ago. Well, it's like a week ago. Had news. This was last week. And then the thing is, the very next day, it's all the way back down here. Sort of a sell-off day. And so what you can tell clearly is that it squeezed up all the way to 950 and then came all the way back down to 3. 2 days later, it bounces again to 750. But a topping tail forms and it closes down here. Pops up again, sells off, and then today it tried to pop up again. And here was my kind of approach with it in this move. I thought to myself, it's going to have lower relative volume. That's the biggest issue. This day here had super high relative volume because the stock had generally been trading, pretty low volume with the exception of like one day, and then boom, 200 million shares. And then the next day, lower volume, higher volume. But now today, even with 40 million shares of volume, or 30 right now, relatively to the last week, it's not that high. So the average daily volume number got skewed big time after these high volume days, which made today a lower volume day, relatively. Now, the big issue is that there's a lack of news. You can see right here, there's no news catalyst that's driving this higher. It's up, but not on news. So basically what happened is, for whatever reason, at about 9:30 a.m., it popped up. Now, it went from about 4 to 450, goes sideways up to 475, and then halts up at 537 right here. So when it was halted up, that's when it came to my attention. Now, I have a scanner here that scans for stocks that are halted. So we've got our stock halts right down here. So all of a sudden it's on the scanner and it's halted up. So I'm like, okay, well, let me take a look. The thing is, once a stock is halted, it's obviously paused for 5 minutes, volatility trading pause, but it now kind of makes the stock more obvious. Now it's like, well, this thing is doing something pretty exceptional. I probably should pay attention to it. And so now just the very fact that it's halted, it got more attention, right? If it hadn't squeezed up enough to halt, people probably wouldn't have noticed it, but because it halted, now people are getting kind of dialed in on it. So while it's halted, I'm watching, I pull up the chart, I do my due diligence, which is perfect. I've got 5 minutes to do all of that. Review the chart, check for news, look at the kind of intraday chart, and I kind of got dialed in and I thought, all right, well, I'm gonna watch this on resumption. So when it resumes from the halt, DATS. It resumes from the halt, and what's this? I got my drawing tool here or something. It ends up opening at about 540 and immediately breaking the $0.50. So I broke the ice and got in on this green candle here, which is a little risky, but I said, I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to set my stop basically at the low of this candle. So the current low price of that candle, which was about 539, 540. So I'm in here at about 545, something like that, for the break of 550. It goes to 550, goes to 560, goes to 570, 580, a couple topping tails, pulls back, squeezes up to 590, and just under 6. It then drops down, pops back up, drops down, pops back up, drops down, came back up, got another trade here for the break of 6, goes up to about 619, pulls back, sells off, comes back up again, boom, I get another trade right here for the break through the highs. This one's for a break through 619, goes up to 630, pulls back, punches a little higher, and this area was kind of choppy before it finally rolled over. But I didn't swing for the fences on it by any means. I only made $1,500 trading it, but that helped my day because I sit right now, as you can see, at $5,668.67. So that put me over my daily goal. That $1,500 actually made a difference. Now, I was asking myself, Ross, should you really be trading here at 10, 15, whatever, 10:30? It's getting a little later in the morning. Is this not pushing your luck, especially on a day that's not very hot? And I thought, well, enough of that. This thing is moving. And so because it's moving and it's not a bad daily chart, in fact, it's one of the better daily charts I've seen recently, let's focus on the price action, but let's just trade it with smaller size. So trade it with smaller size, max position, 6,000 shares. And even that felt a little heavy. That wasn't, kind of my first trade, but, got sized up after I had a little cushion and got a little profit on it. So I was like, all right, I can work with that. Now, I started the day, if we go back to the very beginning, on WHLR. WHLR, Wheeler Investment Trust, is a REIT, a real estate investment trust. Now, typically, these are not super hot stocks. It's not a sector that you really expect much of. A real estate investment trust is a company that just invests in real estate. And so, real estate is all fine and well, but what kind of returns do you really expect to get? And yet, this is a stock that has made some exceptional moves in the past. I mean, look at this. To the upside, but also the downside. Has a series of reverse splits. So a lot of reverse splits. They've done offerings to raise money to buy more real estate, but the price just keeps declining on the stock. So I don't know what real estate they're investing in, but clearly, I haven't looked at their balance sheet closely. Again, this is sort of drawing the line between fundamental analysis and technical analysis, but the technicals are saying that this company is not doing well at all, and I wonder if the fundamentals back that up as well. They probably do, but anyways, so it had this big pop here, and then they did another reverse split, and I really thought after that this thing was just going to do something insane, and it didn't. So it kind of surprised me. Came down lower, 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 another split, lower, 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 lower. And then today, 70 million shares of volume. So naturally, the volume today is high in terms of relative volume. This is what we like to see, high relative volume. Unfortunately, once again, it's got no news. So DATS having no news isn't as shocking because we could speculate, what's the possible catalyst on DATS? Well, it's a daily setup, it pulled back for a few days. Maybe were some big shorts that said, you know what, it's not going any lower. I'm just going to cover it at the open. And they cover 20,000 shares. You get a few people that do that. It's 100,000 shares of volume on a stock that is a former Momo stock. It pops up, it hits a couple scanners. Now traders are jumping in it, right? That makes sense. But with WHLR, it's been kind of like a no-name. I mean, it's just been doing nothing for weeks. So what sparked that move? 4 a.m., it pops up on like 30,000 shares of volume. Now, for all we know, that could just be a Discord group or something that just said, oh, let's just, buy up shares of this stock and see what it's going to do. Now, I always try to be careful about that because I like to trade stocks preferably that have a catalyst so I can understand why it's moving. But at the same time, once a stock is moving a certain amount, it's like, well, it's going. Maybe early shorts are getting trapped and we should pay attention. So this first candle, 47,000 shares of volume, right? That's not that much. It drops down on 87,000 shares, so it does a full drop. And then it comes all the way back up here on a couple 100,000 shares. So now you got like less than a million shares, almost a million shares of volume as it comes up to this high of 406. Drops down again. And now some traders are probably watching it just from the very fact that, well, it's up 50%, 70% on the day. Comes back up, double tops at 406, pulls back. And then I took the best trade of the day for me right here. I got in my very first trade of the day, entry at 382, right down here. So 382 I bought, and it squeezes up through 4. My target was 406, a test of this double top resistance. And we ended up going up to 415, 420, and all the way up to 427, 443. Then we get a red shooting star candle. It drops down. I end up getting back in a little too high, and I gave back like 1,000 off the top. So I was a little annoyed about that because then it rallies again, and it just, the thing is, it became very thickly traded, and every time it would pop, it's like it would flush. So you look at some of these candles, and it's like it would pop up here and then drop. Popping up here, this area up here, and then it would drop again, right? So this thing was just not easy. And maybe it's because it had no news. There was no real logical reason for it to be up as much as it was. So I didn't do particularly well on WHL. Well, actually, it was the best, my biggest winner of the day. But although I peaked at 4,400 and then gave back half and then worked my way back up to 3,800, it wasn't easy by any means. And then at the open, it gave another little, slap in the face to these traders who were using market orders on that big whip. And at that point, I was like, this thing is just, it's done. Now, this morning, we did have BMRA, which is up right now 140%. It's up 140%, and this one did have news. United Arab Emirates Ministry of Health and Prevention approves biometric PSA screening tests to detect early signs of prostate cancer. PSA levels, this is nothing new. They've been doing these tests for forever. But anyways, so this company all of a sudden squeezes from 40 cents a share up to $1.20, like 300%, which is incredible. But, for me, this is going to be a little too cheap, right? So my issue with this is that for me to make good money, how many shares would I have to buy? So 75 cents a share to make, let's say on a good day, $5,000. That's the daily goal. So if I want to be able to make that on one trade, and this is going to go from 75 cents realistically to 85 cents, I would need to buy 50,000 shares. So 50,000 shares bought, 50,000 shares sold, that's going to be 100,000 shares. And times 0.003, I'm going to pay $300 in commissions on it because of direct access routing to NASDAQ. So I'm going to pay a $300 fee. And this is if I can get the full 10 cents a share out of it. So if I only get 2 cents a share, I get $1,000 of profit, but I still have the $300 in fees, which is 30%. And these cheaper stocks, it's very common that I'll only get, 2-3 cents a share because they kind of pop and then they sort of grind and then they kind of pop and they grind. And, of course, this is going to be one that was exceptionally strong. And on these breakouts of like 60 cents went all the way up to 80 and then pulls back and then pops up, pulls back, pops up. But no doubt traders that don't have commission-free brokers are going to have, you're going to have an advantage trading something like this where you're trying to buy and sell hundreds of thousands of shares a day. 10 trades like that of 50,000 shares and I've got $3,000 of fees and commissions. Holy smokes, that's a lot of money in one day. And I've had days like that, but I don't love them. Days where my broker and NASDAQ make more than me, I feel kind of silly. So I didn't trade this one. Ends up making a nice move, but I didn't trade it. And I think it's worth noting that this definitely, it's got 278 million shares of volume. It drew a lot of attention. So this sort of became a magnet where it pulled traders into this that might otherwise have been trading maybe DATS, maybe WHLR, FSI. There were a couple others that popped up. This one halted up, halted down, back up, back down, really choppy stuff. ARQQ, well, this one's higher price. It's not that easy. It's too thinly traded. So that's not going to work. XXII, this one keeps popping up and dropping. We talked about it yesterday. So that's not easy. It wasn't happening. And I took a bit more risk maybe than I should have, but on a couple of those trades, WHLR, I thought it was going to pull away. I did. The areas where I thought it was going to pull away on the 1 minute chart was sort of right in here. So right in here, I thought that this was going to pull away. You can have that. I thought it was going to pull away, but then it just couldn't. And so I just got kind of annoyed with that and frustrated and churned a lot of commissions on it. So and now all of a sudden we're coming at the end of the week. Now we look at the overall market, S&P 500, and we had, of course, that big day, yesterday, overall market, nice gap up. And then today we're pulling back just a little bit, but nothing crazy. We're definitely within range and everything is looking pretty good. So, I would say, and even DATS is coming back up here. So I would say at this point, we'll see how stocks look at the closing bell and after hours. If DATS does end up putting in a bigger move, that would surprise me, but for lack of anything else to trade, it could work. I think right now you've got a double top, so it probably would be better if it could pull back first before breaking out. But, in any case, if this goes higher, that could catch some short sellers off guard, and you could get a little squeeze. It's kind of the only one right now that's looking like it has that potential, but it just doesn't really make sense, so I just don't really expect it. That's the issue. So nonetheless, we're coming now to the end of the week, Friday, tomorrow. The goal for me is just to show up and see if I can break the ice on a couple of A-quality setups, build a little cushion, and if we have some stocks with some good news and some nice momentum, boom, I'm going to be in great shape. But the real issue this week was that we had some stocks with news, but none that were so strong that they just kept going higher. That was our main issue. We didn't have strong enough news. And, that's out of our control. We'll trade what's in front of us. And this week we had some opportunities, but nothing insane. So, I'm kind of feeling like, all right, 3 days here of sort of just smaller base hit trading in a little bit of a lull. But all things considered, let's look at the monthly P&L. Sitting in really nice shape. Is this week, anything to write home about? No, it's not. It doesn't include today's profit, but it's all about maintaining those high averages, trying to be consistent, staying green, avoiding red days. Small green days are always better than a red day. A break-even day is better than a red day, and a small red day is better than a big red day. So, we go back to the 60-day view. You can see I've got some red days there, but they're relatively small. And this is a really nice equity curve. So this is what I want to try to maintain. Just continue slow and steady. And look, if it's going to be a couple of days that are slow, who cares? Just take it slow. And then when we start to get some nice momentum, it'll open back up again. We go back to 90 days and you'll see I had a stretch here where it was a little slower. So I was just, chugging along. And then all of a sudden we got some nice action in the market. So that's kind of the name of the game. Be ready to put the pedal to the metal, but when it's cold, be willing to ease off the throttle and slow down and wait it out. All right, so thank you guys for tuning in. As always, I'll be back at it first thing tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, live streaming for members at Warrior Trading. I'll put links in the description so you guys can check out either one of my free classes or a 2-week trial. And I will see you bright and early tomorrow morning. Reminder, as always, trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so please manage your risk, take it slow, and I'll see you guys back at it first thing in the morning.